Oh, hey there, Oz.
Oh, hey, Curtis.
Hey, what movie we watching this week?
Well, to kick off Man Movie Month of
Man!
June, I got a movie marriage of The Incredible Hulk,
Uh-huh.
40-Year-Old Virgin,
Yeah.
House Hunters,
Yeah.
and My Big Fat Geek Wedding. This week, we're talking about I Love You Man. Oh. I couldn't come up with a punchline, so I'm like, you know what? There's a wedding involved. They're all kind of
it works.
Loser-ish. I'm like,
Yep,
there you go.
It works.
Incredible Hulk, 40-Year-Old Virgin for the awkwardness, and House Hunters. That was like, I had that easy.
Yeah. And well done with your marriage there. You checked all the boxes.
Sir. All right, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme. New month means new theme.
Yeah, new theme.
We're doing Man Movie Month, where every movie must have the word man in the title.
Yeah. Masculinity, right. Adrenaline.
No room for you women and feminists in this month.
Armpit hair and carburetors.
And finding a good new male best friend.
Nothing more masculine than straight cis men making friends with other straight cis men.
Nothing captures the masculinity more than telling another man you love him. So, I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I am the other host, Curtis.
And before we get rolling, we do want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Don S., Aaron A., Mandy K., Melissa L., and Colleen K. Thank you for your patronage.
Yep. Even though only one of them's a man.
That's right. Well, the other four love men.
Yeah.
They just love... Well, they love us, so they wouldn't be paying.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I guess we meet the technical definition of man, so...
By definition, three of them do love you.
Well, they love you too.
Yeah, but not quite the familial ties that you have with them. I guess their love for me is more pure than the love for you.
It is. They have to love me. They choose to love you.
That's right. Mm-hmm. You've been there. I grew on them.
Yeah, like a rash.
Like a rash. All right, it is my movie this week. Who is in this star-studded flick of ours?
And what a fun movie this is.
It really is.
Yes, 2009's I Love You Man.
That feels, to be fair, it feels like a... I knew I'd draw a blank as soon as I tried to remember the dude's name. He did 40-Year-Old Virgin, knocked up.
Judd Apatow?
Thank you, yeah. Judd Apatow. Feels every bit like a Judd Apatow movie. None.
Yeah.
Has no fingers in this movie at all.
Yeah, you could have fooled me. There's a relatively large cast. So I'm just going to buzz through these pretty quick. Our lead is, of course, Peter Klaven, played by the America's sweetheart, Paul Rudd.
Ant-Man,
another man movie. We've got his new best friend, Sidney Fife, played by Jason Segel. There's Zooey, played by Rashida Jones. She's Peter's fiancée. We have Peter's little brother Robbie, played by Andy Samberg. We have their parents, Oswald and Joyce, played by J.K. Simmons and Jane Curtin, and some great casting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely great.
We have Zoe's best friend Denise, played by Jamie Presley, and her husband, a real man, Barry, played by Jon Favreau. We got some other people. We got Haley, who's another one of Zoe's friends, played by Sarah Burns. Lou Ferrigno as himself.
Yeah.
Rob Hoybel as Peter's co-worker, Tevin. And then we got some, some sort of cameos in a couple of cases, bit roles in another. Yeah. We got Aziz Ansari and Nick Kroll. We got Thomas Lennon, Joe Latruglio, Jay Chandrasekhar, David Krumholtz, and we even got Larry Wilmore in there as the minister.
And Rush.
Yes, and not to mention...
And OK Go.
Yeah, they're all there.
It's like, it has a... You could tell the script was probably really good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you've got... I'm not going to call them all A-listers, because they're not, but... You have a lot of recognizable comedians or comedic actors just taking a role in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I'm here for it. $40 million budget, more than doubled its budget at the box office. So it's successful.
All right.
And they didn't make a sequel, which means, it stands the test of time. So
I love her, you man.
Yeah, I love you both, man.
I love you, man.
Man,
I love you.
Do you love men? That's Robbie's spin-off.
Yes, that's Robbie's. Yeah.
No, like you mentioned, we meet Peter Klaven.
Yeah.
The movie hops right into it.
It does.
We meet Peter. We meet
Peter. Hey, Peter, man.
Hey, Peter, man. Turn on Channel 5.
You can see this chick.
What would you do if you had $1 million?
Yep, PG podcast.
Yeah. So we got Peter Klaven and his girlfriend Zooey. As he's kind of got an architectural background of sorts. He's playing it out. He's like, hey, this is what I would do in this real estate piece. I'd build these buildings, and he just loves the setting, and he proposes to her, and she accepts, and she hops on the phone on the way home, and he's just so beside himself. He's so happy.
Mm-hmm. They're both so happy.
Yeah, and she's talking to her friends, and her friends are like pseudo angry at her for calling one, the other one first or whatever, and they start going in, not realizing they're on speakerphone, in some pretty specific, intimate details of Zooey and Peter's relationship.
She shares a lot with her friends.
She shares a lot with her friends because they've been her friends for like ever.
Yeah.
And Peter, just the reactions on Peter's face of like, oh, you told your friends that, and so it really boils down to, okay, well, we're going to get married, and that's really like the underlying catalyst of the film is we're engaged, we're going to have a wedding. Who's going to stand up with us?
Yeah.
Of course, Zoe's got just this collection of friends to choose from. And they have a conversation about Peter not having any close male friends.
Yeah.
And he's okay with it. Like, it's not something he's ever really processed. They even said, he's like, I've been more of a girlfriend guy, that like, Zoe's my best friend. Like, this is just how it works.
Yeah, and it's never bothered him really.
No.
It's never been a point of conflict. It just is.
Yeah, and like even the people he gets along with at work are the females.
Yeah,
and
he gravitates towards females in general. Yeah,
and it's just very platonic.
Yeah,
it's just that's just who he is.
Yeah, he's a straight cisgendered man, and that's just who he identifies with and who he's comfortable with.
He overhears like Zoe's having she got her friends over. I wouldn't call it a bachelorette party, really. Just
just kind of celebrating.
Yeah, they're just celebrating her engagement, and they're over, and he comes home, and just decides, he's gonna kind of be Peter, and he makes them all hot chocolates, and but as he's about to deliver, he overhears their conversation, including Zooey, about how just he doesn't have any guy friends, and it's just he might get clingy because he doesn't have any guy friends. Yeah, it's like, you got to be careful, and of course everyone loves Peter, but it's just that, like, how come he doesn't have any friends? It's something that's foreign to them because they don't have that issue. It's
never been a concern for them.
Right. Like, I have friends, so I don't know what it's like to not have any. So Peter right then decides, I got to get some friends. Like, I got to get them quick. So now it's a very common movie trope of finding people to have a relationship with. Yeah. You see, like, hook me up with a friend. Do you have any friends that are single? That kind of thing. But where this movie really succeeds is taking charismatic actors and actresses and kind of flipping it on its head. Now it's a man trying to find men friends. Yeah. As opposed to a romantic relationship. They're just looking for a friendship.
Yeah, the romance is there and it's working and it's functional.
Yeah, totally fine.
He doesn't have any friends.
Yeah, so he's worried that come wedding, there gonna be nobody standing on his side. Yeah. So
other than like his dad and his brother.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but
Oh yeah, but you need more. So he goes to his gay younger brother, Robbie. He's like, you're gay and you've always got a man. Like, how do you meet men? Like, I get I get the approach. We also find out, and this is where the 40-year-old virgin part came into play. Peter is extremely naive in terms of just critical thinking skills may not be the highest when it comes to forming relationships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's a panic or two. He's an overthinker. Oh, yeah. He gets stuck in his own head. How many times throughout the movie does he flub words?
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah. And it's always in the presence of a guy. Yeah. And just because he's never been in this type of relationship, he doesn't know how to act in this type of relationship. So he's just trying to make it up as he goes, trying to act like he knows, and of course he doesn't. So he goes to Robbie, trying to get advice on making men, meeting men. And Robbie's just like, don't try too hard, man. Just ask them if they want to grab a beer. Like, they're just guys. It's not that intimidating.
Yeah, suggests that he goes on mandates.
Yeah, just go on these mandates. No dinner, just, grab a drink and talk about dude stuff. And, of course, it's funny because Robbie is far more masculine than Peter is. Like, Robbie's like a physical trainer.
Yeah, he's always at the gym and
he's always at the gym. And
hey, I'll spot you. Just pinkies. Right. You got this.
Yeah, and he's like totally motivational, whatever. But Peter's just like he's just in awe of like my brother Robbie meets straight men without any effort at all, and I can't even have a conversation with one. So we get kind of this montage of Peter trying, like he goes on like Friendster or whatever. Like he's on like almost like a friend dating type site trying to meet. He meets this really old man who's basically catfished him. Even his parents are working on setting him up. Like his mom's like, was it Barry?
Doug.
Doug,
Thomas Lennon.
Yeah. His mom's like,
"Duh, Bears."
It's like, and it is. It's Thomas Lennon. And Thomas Lennon in his most like business straightforward. Like, he's not he's not Reno 911. Thomas
there's
Lennon
no dangle here. Well,
no, it's so they're just it came from Chicago. They have a meal. Like it's like Peter's like, oh my God, this is great. Like this is perfect. Until at the end of the night, Doug leans in and kisses him.
Gives him a huge kiss.
Yeah, Peter was obviously not onto that.
Yep.
What Doug's intentions were.
I love at the end of that sequence, Doug just leans in and gives him a second little peck.
Yeah, just a little one. Peter, he goes and plays poker over at Barry's, which is Zoe's friend's Denise. It's Jon Favreau.
Yeah,
I feel like Jon Favreau. There's two career paths of Jon Favreau, and he weaves in and out. There's the path where he knows how to act and he does it. Your Swingers, your Marvel universe, there's that Favreau line. And then there's like the just beefcake Jon Favreau that you see in this, you see in Couples Retreat. Like there's just that Favreau. I think he was the same way in like Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon. It's just that like super manly butch Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
And then there's the feel good cuddly like from Chef and those like he really can act. And then these are just paycheck movies. But it works because he's still funny. So he's playing poker with the guys and they're drinking, and these are all things Peter doesn't know how to do. And so
he knows nothing about how to play cards.
Knows nothing about drinking.
And they all are just furious with him. They're annoyed with him. They get mad at him.
They're playing like Texas Hold'em, and he's staying on hands he has no business staying on, and he wins. And it's, and then like you mentioned last week, you took your family out for ice cream and your daughter projectile vomited all over the place.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Peter projectile vomits his alcohol. Like he wins this like chugging contest and then just lets it
in your
go.
face, in your
literally in Barry's face.
Yeah.
So obviously all his attempts are failing. What another thing that's taken a lot of Peter's focus is he's a real estate agent, and while he really specializes in like smaller real estate transactions, he's gotten his hands on Lou Ferrigno's mansion.
How
and
that
so,
came together, who knows? But
I
somehow,
don't really know.
Somehow Ferrigno ended up hiring Peter.
Yeah, so he's trying to sell Ferrigno's mansion. It's not going very well because it's extremely Lou Ferrigno'd.
Yeah.
Like, statue. I feel like trying to sell Michael Jordan's mansion would probably be similarly difficult because it just screams Michael Jordan.
Yeah, how can you make it your home if it's clearly made, for someone else?
Specifically for this man. So at an open house, Peter's all but given up, really. And it's so sweet because Zoe's so supportive of it. Mm-hmm. Even when he comes home from that like man date with Doug, he and Zoe are trying to get intimate, and she's like, "You've been smoking?" He's like, "Oh, guy kissed me." Just so.
And he's just so matter of fact. Yeah, guy kissed me. A lot of tongue.
He got all up in there. She's like, "Oh," he tries to kiss her. "Why don't you go brush your teeth?" He's like, "Okay, I've already done it. I've already done it a couple of times, but but I'll break out the chemicals." It's just okay, honey. Like he's gonna be a great husband.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good person.
He's
a hard worker. He's very caring. He's sentimental. He's conscientious.
Doesn't have any vices. He's just very trustworthy. It's like he's been friend zoned by everyone but Zoe.
Yeah,
and Zoe reaps the benefits of bringing him in as a romantic person. So he's got an open house for Ferrigno's mansion, and while at this open house, he's making chit chat with people coming through, and he goes over to the food table and he's talking to Jason Segel's character, Sydney, who's not there for anything other than the food, and he's just very upfront about it, like
very honest, very to the point.
Great sandwiches, like they kind of have this back and forth about this guy who's trying to impress his girl or his date.
Yeah, just watching him from across the room.
Yeah, and he's analyzing everything that's actually going to happen, and it's very organic how these two are conversing and just getting to. I won't even say they're getting to know each other yet, but they're just. This was, I guess, your male form of a meet cute. It's just
having a fun conversation.
It happened organically, and they're both not overdoing it. And Peter, especially, is just letting things happen, and they become friends. Mm-hmm. Like Peter, gives him, or Cindy gives Peter's business card, and it's still like you see it in movies all the time. Well, when do I call her? And this is just Peter. Like, I'm gonna call him and see if he wants to get a drink, And of course, Sydney's like, "Yeah, that's fine. Come on down here. We'll get some fish tacos." And it's just, it's very organic. And I know I keep using that word, but it's exactly what Peter's needing.
Yeah.
And then we just, Sydney invites him back to his man cave. They realize they both have an appreciation for Rush. They start rocking out. Mm-hmm. Like they're really, and Zoe's very excited because it's like, oh, he's got a friend. It's
like you're excited for your kid making a friend at school,
exactly,
or like your dog meeting another dog at the dog
park.
He's got a friend.
It's kind of pitiful, but at the same time,
it's also cute.
Yeah, your heart's in the right place. So Peter invites Sydney to their engagement party. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, Peter's kind of taken Zoe's lead, and like Sydney's asked him some very personal questions about their relationship. Mm-hmm. Just as being a guy, Peter instantly is like, I can't talk about that. I don't even know you. And he's like, dude, it's not a big deal, And then he's just like, well, I guess Zoe does tell her friends everything. So he opens up and kind of feels good about getting it off his chest.
Yeah,
I mean,
because I think Peter, he's so polite. Mm-hmm. That he's always afraid of offending people or making people upset, and so it's not that he I don't think he ever lies to people, but he certainly avoids topics and avoids conversations to kind of maintain the peace and the status quo.
Yeah, because the last thing he wants to do is upset someone.
Yeah,
so he'd rather something that's bothering him, he'd rather just bottle it up and never deal with it than kind of take the high road of like, well, there might be some things I would like changed in my relationship, but I'm in a relationship, so it's okay. It's not a big deal. So at the engagement party, Sydney gives a toast and kind of points at some things that Peter has mentioned to him, and Zoe reads between the lines. about being together a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so Zooey and Peter kind of argue over it on the way home. Peter quickly puts her in her place, like not in a not like in a chauvinistic way, but just it's like, but you talk to your friends about the stuff,
mm-hmm.
you know, and it actually opens him up to where Zoe's like, you know what, I didn't realize you liked it that much, you know, like and so it's like, hey, look, now things are actually better because of that conversation.
And it did help. They were able to kind of call each other up, but they did it in a respectful way.
Yeah, it was sweet. There wasn't any like, don't talk to me that way.
Yeah.
It was just like, I didn't like how you said that. And he's like, well, you know, and it actually got her to open up about her feelings that she's been hiding. And it's a win-win situation. And so things are going well. You know, Peter's got this like reoccurring like Sunday night I watch HBO. Zooey and I watch HBO. Like, and that's
really quality programming.
There is something about these type of comedies, whether it's Judd Apatow's or, you know, a lot of Will Ferrell type stuff where it's like, it's very similar to how I really get a kick out of your Outside Insights when it like refers to some real world thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know why it's funny in Talladega Nights when Will Ferrell and his family go to Applebee's. Like, but it's just because it's that whole thing. Like, I know what Applebee's is.
There's something relatable about it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, yeah, I may eat at Applebee's or shop at Home Depot, but it's funny when you mention it in a movie because it's like, oh yeah, I know those places. Yeah. And so, you know, Peter's like, we watch HBO, like you said, very quality programming. And, you know, it's funny because they're not really making fun of it, but it's in on the joke.
They lean in just a little too hard.
Yeah,
just the right way.
And so, you know, that's come up a couple of times already. Well, it's Sunday and Sydney calls Peter, is like, hey, you know, I'm on like basically this underground Rush fan club, and Rush is doing this pop-up concert at such and such a bar. Do you want to go? And he's like, I can't blow off Zooey again. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but it's Rush. Yeah. So they take Zooey along. You know, like, I'm only doing it if I can bring Zooey. Well, at the concert, of course, you've got a third wheel.
Yeah.
And it's Zooey.
And it's Zooey, clearly.
And she doesn't care for it much. She feels ignored. Mm-hmm. She realizes he's broing out. And she's seeing a side of Peter she's never seen before. Mm-hmm. And she's conflicted. It's not that she doesn't like it. It's just, it's the other side of the sword.
Yeah. And that's kind of how Peter's felt in a lot of circumstances. But it really hits hard. You know, because it never really reveals how long they've been together, but you know, it boils down to, I want you to have friends, but up until this point, I had 100% of your attention, mm-hmm. and now I have to share it. It's like, careful what you wish for, like, and so they get past it. I mean, it's, you know, it's not that big a deal. It is, but they get past it. They go shopping for tuxedos the next day. Because wedding, I mean, again, there's really no timeline here other than you see relationships progressing based on where they are in wedding planning. Like, when you're picking out tux, you're a lot further along than you were when you were at an engagement party. So they're shopping for tuxedos, you know, and Sydney's realizing that Peter's he's about as vanilla as you can get. Yeah. You know, he's just going with your standard black and white tuxedo. He's just having conversation with Peter, like, you know, why are you marrying Zooey? And Peter doesn't really have an answer. Like, he struggles to kind of frame it and put words to it. Like, he knows he loves her. He just can't quite formulate it.
And to be fair, that is kind of a bogus question to just drop on somebody. I mean, I'm extremely happily married. Like, my wife is in my phone as my favorite person ever. Like, I would hope that if I'm ever in an accident, people would understand who to call, because it's her name's not there. It just says my favorite person ever. But even my kids are like, when the phone will ring across CarPlay, and it'll have my wife's little emoji and then favorite person ever. And even my daughter's like, what about us? Are we your favorite people ever? I just went, no. Mom is. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, you'll understand someday.
Yes. Well,
I don't, you don't get on my nerves like mom, or mom doesn't get on my nerves like you do.
Well, in this point of the movie too, it kind of reminds me, as you bring that question up, the like, why do you love her? And, we've seen a couple tiny little cracks from Sydney to this point, like he kind of, there was a scene a little earlier where, they all went, I think, for a hike with his friend.
Hiking, yeah. And he had friends. Like, there were other people there.
Yeah, like Sydney has other friends, but at the end, he's like, hey, why don't we come inside and hang out and like jam for a while? And they're like, oh, I got to get home to the kids. Oh, I got to be up early for work the next day.
I got to go grade papers.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of arrested development from Sydney there. And
everyone has moved on within their lives.
Yeah. And he's a little resentful of that.
He is.
And you're starting to get that impression. And I don't think he's being overtly manipulative, but I think it's coming out in some subtle ways. And that question is an example of it.
Right. And he's not doubting their love. He's just like, well, if you don't know why you're marrying her, then why are you marrying her? But again, this is coming from a guy whose primary form of female companionship is divorcees.
Yeah.
Like that's what he wants. I want divorced moms.
Yeah.
Because they're wanting what I want. They don't want no strings attached.
Yeah.
They just, and so he doesn't understand where Peter's at, it's, and so, they're having some fun. He's taking some pictures. He's finally getting Peter to loosen up a little bit, try on a different, tuxedo, hits him up for an $8,000 loan. To which Peter initially is like,
no. Like, I know we're becoming good friends, but like,
it's like
that's a lot of money, and like we haven't known each other that long.
I'm planning a wedding. Like, there's, I'm saving some money for some real estate development stuff. Like, and honestly, Sydney was like, okay, no big deal. Mm-hmm. It's just this, investment opportunity. And really, I mean, Sydney, you would have thought Sydney could have made up something a little better than this.
Yeah.
When there was an investment opportunity. Well, what is it? I can't tell you. Like, well, of course the answer is no then. Yeah. Like,
he just says it's confidential.
Yeah. I believe that we're friends, but like, that's a long con kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Peter decides, he does loan him the money. I know you're good for it. You'll be fine. To which, Sydney is like, oh, that's great. You're not going to regret this. Peter asks Sydney to be his best man. Mm-hmm. He's also equally excited about that. But then Peter then brings it up to Zooey. Like, why are you marrying me? Basically, that conversation works between your best friend and yourself.
Yeah.
When there's no commitment involved
no stakes.
There. Yeah. That's a much better way to phrase it. There's no stakes there. Don't have that same conversation with your fiance near the end of your engagement.
Hey, Patreon subscriber Melissa L., why are we married?
I'd ask mine, but I know she doesn't watch the show. And so Zooey obviously is becoming a little bit more suspicious of Sydney. She doesn't really know anything other than just she's the slightly jealous fiance. Mm-hmm. Peter tells her that he lent the money to Sydney. Of course, Zoe's like that. Because he was worried about the Ferrigno place. And if that doesn't come through, then I'm not going to be able to do that real estate developing. Yep. She's like, why don't you just do it? You've got the money. And he's like, well, I loaned $8,000 of it to Sydney. To which now Zoe's like, I'm not cool with this.
Yes.
And then same conversation was the why are you marrying me? And, Sydney asked me that and I didn't have an answer. Like, Peter.
Yeah.
This is one of those times when not telling everything is not the same as lying.
Mm-hmm.
It's not lying if you're not asked. You just keep it to yourself. So Zooey leaves. She's like, okay, well, I'm out.
She's going to Denise and Barry's.
Yeah.
Their relationship too, by the way, Denise and Barry.
It's pretty toxic.
Yep, but it works because apparently they have great makeup sex.
Apparently, so, and speaking of themes,
yeah.
Peter goes to work the next morning and finds out that the $8,000 loan that he'd given to Sydney was used to purchase billboards to really promote Peter's like real estate agent business thing. All those pictures that he had taken, he had like photoshopped into various awful billboard placement, by the way. Like all of these billboards were on one road on the way to work.
But it's like by again up by here, like O'Hare Airport. There's every billboard within 3 miles of O'Hare is the Brian Urlacher hair growth thing.
Oh, is it?
It's every billboard. Once you get within a couple miles of O'Hare, I
haven't been up there in so long.
It's like there's one that's like O'Hare Airport.
Oh, Lord.
Like it's literally like 20 billboards of Brian Urlacher and his hair growth like promotion.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe this isn't so far-fetched.
Yeah.
But it's pushing Peter Klaven as, as James Bond, as a cowboy, as like a fireman. Like it's
like
just
a sex symbol.
Yeah, it's everything he's not.
Yeah.
Is,
somebody who's out there and confident and kooky and
but it would be the things that Rob Hoible's character would do.
Yes, it's very Tevin-like.
Tevin is like, he's the one that's advertising on like men's urinals and bus benches. And just, and he really jazzes it up that way. So like Peter is angry.
Mm-hmm.
Very angry.
It feels like he's been violated.
He's still upset over that fight with Sydney or with Zooey. So he confronts Sydney and he's just like, actually, take him down. Like, take him down. And he's like, absolutely. I thought I was trying to help. I'll get him down, get your money back. A friend of mine, gave me a deal on him.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically ends his friendship with Sydney because he's realized that his friendship with Sydney coincides with how fragile his relationship with Zoe's gotten.
Peter actually tells Sydney, I think we should spend some time apart.
Yeah, like he's breaking up with him.
Yeah.
Peter, of course, then goes to Barry and what was her name?
Denise.
Goes to Barry and Denise to, try to get Zooey back. Zooey is more than happy to get out of that home.
All they do is scream at each other.
And then have very loud sex afterwards. And so... he's nervous, but he is ready to get married. He's like, he loves her and she knows he loves her. And so they're like, let's get together, let's fix this. So we're back on track. It's like the Sydney speed bump is seemingly been, kicked out. Sydney's now alone and he's just very desperate to hang out with someone because Peter was feeling a need for him as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was a reciprocal relationship.
Yes, very much so. So the billboards are not down yet, but Peter's living with the fact that they're up. And it turns out that his attention to being a real estate agent has really skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is like, way to go, Peter, on those. Like Tevin, even like Tevin was going to go halvesies on the Ferrigno project.
He'd been pushing for it. He'd been basically bullying Peter into trying to get him to do it.
And Peter's meek enough that he was going to do it because he was having no success with it. To the point that Ferrigno had even sat down with him.
Mm-hmm.
But Lou Ferrigno's like, I saw your billboards. I love it. I don't want to work with him. Let's just work together. Everybody's getting rid of Sydney seems to bring everything back together for Peter. Except this big void that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Tevin's out and Ferrigno's back and it's just, everything's working out. So Peter does feel bad about fighting with Sydney just because I think Peter would feel bad about fighting with anybody.
Yeah.
But he doesn't invite him to the wedding. So now we're in the wedding day. The groomsmen are Robbie, their dad, it's Lou Ferrigno.
It's everybody from earlier.
Doug, Joe Latruglio's character with the high-pitched squeak, the old man from the diner. Like, it's everybody else that we met in the montage. And it's fun and it's cute. But Zoe's looking out the window and she sees as they're as the men are like going to pose for a photo, that the groomsmen walk off and Peter's slapping the bass.
He's just playing air bass by himself with his head down.
So, so Sydney gets a phone call. We don't know who it is, but you could figure it out.
Yeah.
Sydney gets a phone call. He's already dressed in a tux on his Vespa.
Yeah. On his way to the wedding. Yeah.
Heading to the wedding. Oh, I think I can make it, So just before the vows are taken, Sydney makes an entrance. I mean, everybody's standing up at the altar. It's a beautiful looking wedding.
Pastor Larry Wilmore.
Yeah. Pastor Larry Wilmore. Sydney shows up. He and Peter. Peter's like, "What are you doing here?" And Zoe's like, "I invited him. Like, he's your best friend. Like, and he's like, "Hey, here's your money back." Like, I wasn't kidding about the investing thing. I'm actually pretty good at it. The billboards are a wedding present, and they go back and forth. With "I love you, man," and "I love you, bro." They just go back and forth with their dumb names for each other, making them up as they go. Sydney steps in as best man. And they get married, Peter and Zoe get married and the credits are going and, Peter and Sydney join OK Go as they're playing Rush music and it's just, everybody's happy again. So everybody's happy again. Yeah. And so that's the movie. That's I Love You, Man.
That's I Love You, Man. What a fun movie this is.
It is. Yeah. It is. My wife and I saw this in the theater. I remember that. And we found it very funny. Mm-hmm. I remember laughing pretty hard at just watching Paul Rudd try to sound reggae saying slapping the bass. Yeah. Slapping the bass.
Slapping the bass. I think at some point he was just like, they were off script. Because you could kind of tell by Rashida Jones's reactions.
Yeah, that he's just Paul Rudding.
Yeah.
And he's such a charming dude.
He is. Another like Conan, somebody who just has it just sort of shaped my sense of humor in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just such a funny guy.
Well, hey, folks, every week Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we yap about. This week, 2009's I Love You, Man. Hey, Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this movie a 2112. That's a Rush album from 1976.
And for the second straight week,
I do it again?
You took my rating.
Wow, I've never done that before.
Yep.
I've taken a rating, but I've never taken two in a row.
But never 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I finished this. I'm like, I wonder if Rush has any numerical albums, and they did.
Yep, 2112. You took my rating.
Well, what are you going to give it?
Let's go with the $8,000 that Peter lent to Sydney.
Well, last week your rating would have been $1 million. So
yeah,
I spared you one numerical rating for another.
Yes, you did. So
you're welcome.
We'll see how long this bit goes on for. Next up is Outside Insights. Oz and I have been scouring the interwebs, searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones. And we hope they tickle yours as well. Hey, Oz, what's your Outside Insight?
This is from Tina B. It's a 1 out of 5.
Tina Belcher from Bob's Burgers?
Uh-huh. It left on December 27th, 2015. Her title is Very Disappointed in Our Version of This Movie.
Okay.
Very disappointed in our version of this movie. The backstage scenes with the band Rush are not here. This was my entire reason for purchasing this video for my husband for Christmas. We had seen the movie a long time ago and he had loved it, so I ordered the Blu-ray for him. Just watched it and it's not there. I can't even get a refund because I shopped early and purchased it in July. Very disappointed. My husband is so bummed. Fail as a Christmas gift. Where is the Rush scene?
As opposed to buying like a concert film,
no,
or like even like tickets to go see them live.
Yeah, no.
He's a huge Rush fan, so I bought him a movie that the band is mentioned in and plays for 30 seconds.
And I didn't buy the like director's cut of the film, so we missed out on the actual Rush performances. So sorry, Tina B, but that's the 1 out of 5 review. What do you got?
Mine, as always, comes from the Internet Movie Database. This is a 7 out of 10 review, left in 2009, so not long after it came out, by Ellie for Peace. Funny movies have to be funny. That's the only rule about funny movies. They don't have to live up to any expectations. They can be about the same thing that movies always are. It really doesn't matter as long as they are funny. I Love You, Man is a funny movie. On a spectrum of comedies, this is a bro movie. One made basically for guys, a little raunchy. But honestly, it's not too R-rated. It cusses a bit, discusses sex a lot, things like that. Cusses a bit.
Just a little bit about stuff like that.
Just like things like that.
I love these conversational reviews.
I love it when,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I love it when people write like they talk in these things.
Oh, exactly. That's what I mean. Just conversational reviews. I love them.
Anyways.
Right. I was at a movie with my boyfriend.
Yep, so that's my outside insight. Hey, folks, it's that point in the show you've all been waiting for, our signature Let's Talk About Flicks segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about this week's movie, I Love You, Man. Hey, Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one, very strong supporting cast. Like I mentioned in a little pre-show, even just kind of the cameos are, Aziz Ansari and Nick Kroll are in it for like a scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, those guys are funny, I like seeing that. So very strong supporting cast. I like that, honestly, this movie does shine a light on a real issue. Yeah. Like, when you're young, boys make friends a lot easier than girls. Being the parent of a boy and a girl, I see it all the time. Script kind of flips when you get older, though. Like, yeah. It's tough. You've got and I think a lot of it is we as people kind of categorize our relationships.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I've worked 3 different teaching jobs. And my first teaching job is the only one where I really felt like I had friends, not just work friends.
Yeah.
But friends. It's like my last 2 jobs. I don't do anything with my coworkers outside of work. Some of them do, but I just there. It's a different compartment for me. So, like being an adult, making friends is hard to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm thankful that you and I have been as close as we have been since we were like 18 years old. Because other than that, it's like that's it. Like I'm just as much Peter Klaven in this movie. Mm-hmm. It's like I do nothing with a friend outside of my home. So, and I'm okay with that because, like I said, my wife's my favorite person ever. So it's totally
as dictated by your phone.
It's totally fine. So, so I do like that it shines the light on a real issue.
Yeah.
And third, titular line.
Yep, I was waiting for it.
Titular line. I actually changed my third good to this one. I couldn't remember what my third good was, but I like to fill them out as I'm watching. And then we get to the end, where he's like, Pete, where Paul Rudd looks almost right in the camera. Love you, man. And I'm like, titular line. Mm-hmm. So those are my 3 goods. What do you got?
Oh, I got, let's start with just a simple one. Paul Rudd is the best.
Yes, he is.
He's just so dang charming and just so good at what he does. And it just, Paul Rudd just seems so effortless as a performer.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
It just flows so naturally. And it just, I don't know, he's the best. It's Paul Rudd. Second one, my other 2 goods are going to just kind of be like slightly different flavors about how you describe some of your goods. I love how this movie takes on kind of what defines masculinity, particularly in straight cisgender males. And it kind of reverses that definition. And again, as you eloquently kind of put earlier, like this movie takes like your common sort of like, your stereotypical like romance, meet cute, but it puts it in the context of 2 straight cisgendered males trying to become friends. And how awkward it is and trying to impress each other and trying not to look stupid. And
all the really like friendly relationships aren't a whole lot different than romantic relationships. Like, you still want to find a comfort zone. You don't want to look like an idiot because you're worried. Like, losing a friend is like a breakup.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to put it in a spot where, because we all are very quick, and it's almost harder. I mean, I really think it's harder to make friends than it is to form a relationship, just because there seems to be more stakes, and like there's other. I mean, how do I want to phrase it? There's other benefits to a relationship. You know, like you may, if you're looking for a romantic partner, you may be forgiving of certain traits in exchange for other certain traits, you know, whereas a friendship, it's camaraderie. Like there typically isn't a romantic side to things. Looks aren't a big deal, you know, so the traits are straightforward. Is, do I enjoy being around this person enough to want to do it again?
Yeah.
And that's hard to justify because the stakes are, it's like, did you have a good time? And then it is that awkward, like, well, how do I make a friend? Like, asking someone on a second date's not a big deal, but I don't want to come off weird. It's like, well, why are you calling? You know, it's, I get it. And I keep stealing your time here, but go ahead.
No, it's good. And I'll this was another potential good. I'm just going to kind of wrap into this one. I also love how, like, you know, J.K. Simmons' character Oswald, the dad, he you know, his character is portrayed as kind of a more masculine male.
Oh yeah.
But even he says that, like, you know, I got two best friends. One of them is my gay son, and the other one is Hank Mardukas. You know,
you're right.
Yeah, we've talked on the phone multiple times a week for 30 years. Yeah. Like what a healthy relationship that is.
Very healthy. Yeah. Very healthy.
Yeah. So my third good, and again, it's kind of similar to yours as well. Peter and I have a lot in common. We're both kind of, you know, like just the good guys who struggle to make friends.
You can add me to that group.
Yeah, like tend to connect more comfortably with women. When I was at high school and I was working at K's Merchandise, I would talk with the 50-year-old women working in the furniture department more than I would, you know, like the hot girl, like the hot 17-year-old to 16-year-old me, you know, like working at the cash register.
Oh yeah.
And you know, just overthinking social situations. So like watching the Peter character is kind of validating for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I spent the last, 6 years working out of an elementary school. So it's like I'm surrounded by females. Now, the very small handful of males in the building, I was more comfortable talking to the girl, you know, to the female teachers than I was seeking out the PE teacher, or just because I just wasn't my speed. Now, did I get along with them? Yeah, I get along with everybody, but you know, I'm with you though. I look at it as I was always much more comfortable. Just, I don't know. It's weird though.
Yeah. So that's my third good. It's just that character is validating for me. So yeah. All right. Hey, Oz, what are your two bads?
My first one was Sydney's engagement party speech.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it worked out for the better for both Zooey and Peter. However, like, that's the first time Zooey met Sydney, and he's already dropping little gems like, give it back, you know, and like, and not even trying to be coy about what he's talking about. Like, it was not shielded very well at all. And it's like, oh man, that was like, that would have been an opportunity for Peter right there to be like, yeah, that's not cool. Like,
Sydney is not very conscientious and lacks a lot of discretion.
Yeah. And my second bad is, I'm not going to put it on Zooey because it's just the way she was written, but, like your almost anticipated Zooey response to encouraging Peter to go find friends and then becoming jealous of the friends. Like, I really liked Peter and Zoe's relationship. And while they obviously, every relationship has its faults, like, to see her fall into that stereotypical role of jealous girlfriend. Yeah. It's like, you didn't have to go that route. Like,
the movie needs conflict.
I mean, she resolved it in the end by bringing Sydney in, but still it was, you know, like,
it was checking a plot box.
It's like, oh, you're jealous of the person, like, you've pushed him into his arms and now you're jealous that he's there. Like, So that's my second bad. What do you got?
Oh, my first bad is guys like Tevin and Barry and everybody at the poker table.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder it's hard for us to make friends. You know,
Well, yeah,
when
'cause if
guys like that are out there.
Well, yeah, because if you're a guy trying to be friends with a guy, you got to be gay.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's just, you got to be. If you're not acting like me.
Yeah. Yeah, chomping cigars and, you know, just pounding hard liquor and playing cards and...
Right, that's what guys do, isn't it? This is man month, Curtis.
It is man month, Oz.
Man movies. Movies for men.
Man movies.
Actually, Barry and Tevin are the reason we picked this movie, not Sydney and Peter.
Those are real man.
Those are men.
My second bad is just Sydney refusing to pick up his dog's poop. Come on. Just pick up the poop.
I don't care what justification you've told yourself. Yeah. It's still not cool.
Yeah, there's just some social cues. Again, Sydney can be a pretty selfish person.
Yeah.
And, you know, just some, you know, social awareness just isn't there.
Right.
So those are my two bads. Hey, Oz, what's your
I want to know, did Sydney watch the Californians to find the fastest way to the wedding on a moped?
Will you take the 405 down?
I know. It's like when they show like on his way to, he's like 40 miles away from Santa Barbara on a moped on the freeway.
Yeah.
Like the notorious California freeways, and somehow made it there in time. Like it was, so that's what I envisioned. Was like he flipped on an episode of the Californians. Just take Ventura over to Santa Monica,
Devin, or Tevin.
Yeah. And so, what are you doing? And so that was my is basically how did he get there in time? So what do you got for your
For my I'm just going to continue to ride this theme here. Why can't straight cisgendered males express positive emotions to each other?
They can. I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
But
hey, Oz, I love you.
I love you, man.
Yeah. See,
I do.
Is that so? I do too. I mean it. Is that so hard?
I've even accidentally told you that on the phone hanging up a couple of times before. Like, just because I'm so used to talking to my wife, and I'm like, hey, love you. And then I hang up, and then I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to call it cleared up. Like, I didn't lie.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, be more honest and transparent. It's okay to express a positive emotion towards a male friend.
You don't have to be afraid.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
What if he thinks if I'm a gay?
Yeah. You're not. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And even if you were, that's okay.
So many just insecure males out there.
We squawk and squawk about how we wish life were easier, and then we create difficulties like this for ourselves. Yeah. Like, it's that, you said it earlier, it's just the constant overthinking of a situation.
Yeah.
If you love something, love it. Like, it's okay.
And it's okay to say it. And it's okay to mean it.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that whatever holidays or cards or whatever. Yes. We understand that you use that L word with your spouse or your significant other or whatever. But you also say, I love cheeseburgers. Like, that's okay too.
Why don't you marry it?
Yeah. If you say that, you must also love bratwurst. Like,
yeah.
But it's, it's like, no, it's totally fine. It is. It's fine.
Yeah. I really enjoy how this movie just flips masculinity on its head.
And doesn't handle it awkwardly.
Yeah.
Like, Paul Rudd and Jason Segel are both very talented performers. You get a sense that really this wasn't out of their comfort zone to act in.
Yeah.
Which is good, because I think a movie like this falls apart if you're grabbing like a Brad Pitt and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, someone like this movie. Yeah, it wouldn't have worked with actors with more like gravitas.
Yeah, and that
Harrison Ford is Sydney.
Harrison Ford and Val Kilmer. But it's okay. I love you, man.
Yeah, it's that simple, fellas. All right. Well, yeah,
totally.
that's 2009's I Love You, Man.
You got a movie next week, I hear.
I do, and I'm opening up our file right now because I'm forgetting what that movie is off the top of my head.
I opened mine as well.
Oh, that's right. It's a movie that I actually have not seen.
I have not seen it either.
Yeah. So, I'm excited. It's supposed to be pretty good.
It's Batman.
It's well, you're not too far off.
No, I know.
We're watching Birdman.
Yeah.
With Michael Keaton. So
what was the rest of that?
Yeah, I didn't even put the full title there.
It's here, I'll read. I got it here. Okay,
you got it.
The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
Yeah. It's one of those movies that I just sort of like it's like, oh, that sounds good, and then it just fell off the map for me.
Yeah, it made a ton of money.
Yeah. 7.7 on IMDb.
I know. Did it win the Oscar for Best Picture that year?
I don't think so.
I'm looking here real quick. Awards. Critical response. No.
A lot of names in this.
It won. Yeah, it won 4 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography.
It didn't win Best Picture.
Yep. Keaton was nominated for Best Actor. Edward Norton and Emma Stone were nominated in Best Supporting Actor categories. Also received nominations in sound editing and sound mixing.
All right.
And Keaton won Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're watching Birdman next week.
And it is on for that year, several like number 1 on top 10 lists, several more number 2s, 3s. So, yeah, very, very well-received movie. Mm-hmm. It's got Zach Galifianakis in it, Amy Ryan, Naomi Watts. Like, I'm afraid it's going to be one of these movies that we watch and then we're going to kick ourselves. Like, why did we not watch this? You know,
probably.
Like, what were we waiting for?
Yeah.
Is this like 10 years old already? So, yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. I've not seen the movie.
Yeah, let's watch some Birdman.
Birdman. So, yep. I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. Social media-wise, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Patreon link down below. Let me see if Birdman is streaming anywhere for those that are also looking for a first time or even a rewatch.
Not looking like it.
Yeah, probably not. No, it's not streaming for free. You can get it on Apple Plus, but you got to rent it. You can rent it from all your usual spots.
The usuals.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to check it out. And 2 hours on the nose. Birdman. I really don't even know what it's about. I might even just go in blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm
looking at the one sentence synopsis.
Go ahead and give it to me. That'll be enough vision.
It's classified as a comedy and drama. A washed-up superhero actor attempts to revive his fading career by writing, directing, and starring in a Broadway production.
Okay. Sounds like a Michael Keaton biopic almost.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Birdman will be our film for next week as we are in week 2 of Man Movies.
Man Movies.
I'm looking forward to July already. That's going to be a really crappy month. No, it won't be too bad. But no, for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
We'll see you guys next week with Birdman.